Welcome to Tech Turks. Today I have Oluseun Onigbinde, who is the CEO and co-founder of BudgIT. BudgIT is a civic organization that empowers citizens of Nigeria to understand the budget and data, but using technology to do that. I know that sounds a bit complex, but that's why I have Seun here, who's going to help us break it down and really understand how this helps us, especially as we have that general election coming up in a couple of years' time. So Seun, welcome.
Great to be here.
So the budget. Yeah. Before I even go to asking how, giving us more detail, just tell me, I've spoken to a lot of people who are using technology as a platform, to sell drinks, to provide all kinds of services. But this is completely different and novel. So what drove you or inspired you to do this?
Okay, great. I'm happy to be at Tech Turks. Interesting, I was a banker. I was banker for 4 years. And maybe a sense of anger and discontent in some sort of way.
It does that to you?
I feel like I was just not doing well enough. And so I was working in the public sector team then. So we're always doing budget, contracts, review, just for purposes of business. And I feel like I can do this for the public too. I can simplify this, but because I wonder, this is public fund, and nobody is even interrogating it well enough. So I felt like I can simplify it, I can build engagement out from it, I can initiate people to take action, and technology can be that means to distribute it in a very large scale. So I started in 2011 with a friend called Uzoma with support from Co-Creation Hub. So it was coming up from Co-Creation Hub, like one of the earliest startup incubator in Nigeria. And right now we're going graduate. So the key goal for BudgIT is take public data, public information, public finance data most especially, and simplify that for the public. Understanding that we have some level of literacy gap when it comes to understanding how public policy works. And when you simplify that, allow people to take action on the basis of that, and ask questions, and demand an efficient society. Yeah.
So I could be here all day with you, so I'm just trying to compress my questions.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was doing my thesis and I was trying to do one on efficient markets, and one of the challenges was collating data, right? But that was a few years ago. So now I think we have better technology to help us to collate that data. But still, this collecting data in Nigeria is a challenge. So how do you do that? How do you go about it? I know there's the data that comes from the different arms of government, but how do you keep it dynamic?
But data is really hard in Nigeria because we don't have that culture, to count things. If I will tell you that we can't count the number of oil we produce, we can't count ourselves effectively, so we don't have an option to count. And so, but Nigerian Bureau of Statistics does a good job in some regard, and we have the budget data. We stuck to the budget data early on because that was what was available. It was always there on the budget office website, and nobody was asking questions, simplifying or providing to the public. So from the get-go, we had the raw material already. What we have done is sometimes government wants to roll that back, so we have jealously guarded that space to ensure that continuously budget data is public at the most especially federal level. At the state level, it gets more difficult because some national governments are being weak in institutions and technologies and are still lacking in that regard. So to get state budget data is really, really a hell. Yeah, but gradually we're coming close to becoming a more data-driven society, but it's still very far from where we should be actually.
So when I went, I was really tripped when I went to the website because it's all the government, there's significant amount of data there. Especially the one that really interested me was arrears in state government payments to their staff. And as a banker, this is important to me, especially if I'm lending, if I'm doing consumer lending as we're in the retail space. But most of the data is like what I said was downloadable data. And when is the site going to evolve with more interactivity? For example, I don't want the whole data. I just want maybe to ask a question and I see some information there.
Yeah, so we're building a new product now that we should launch in August, 1st of August. It's called, for now, code name, we don't even have a name yet. It's called Data Anonym. And it's supposed to be an more interactive space. You're looking for different kind of data you could search, You can download the data. You can also have some narratives around it that could be built on artificial intelligence. Also, we're also going to have to integrate a bot into it so that you can say, I want something, and you can finally say, this is where you go for it. So we're also trying to be much more dynamic with it, because what we've seen is that beyond the budget data that we stuck to from the beginning, there's also a bit of push and a bit of demand for different kinds of data. And sometimes the data is available, but it's just scattered across the web. You know, UNDP data, World Bank, IMF, MBS, Budget Office, onto General Ministry of Finance. So data is all everywhere. So maybe it's time that we aggregate and intelligently, arrange them and give it to the people. So beyond giving it to people in infographics, we also want to make it easily searchable and interactive. So something we're building gradually into it.
Yeah. In terms of awareness, well, I guess the right people know you, because I hear you also got a grant. You got a grant from. You have gotten grants to continue your work, but from the user perspective, how many Nigerians do you think are aware of this fantastic proposition, and how are you going to create awareness?
Yeah. So we've stuck to mostly organic push. Once in a while we do adverts in newspapers, we appear at events, we also promote online, but I guess so we're trying new methods from August, which our new strategy begins, is to do much more mainstream marketing, which is go on TV, go on radio, put some fun resources behind that, because we begin to realize, we did some research recently and we find out that the enthusiasm for the kind of data we produce is even much stronger at the grassroots and maybe semi-urban or rural areas than even those who are in the urban areas. Because for most people in the urban areas, they can provide their own power, they can tar their roads, they just get so busy. But for those in rural areas, the grassroots, if government is to provide a school, they don't have an alternative for a private secondary school, a private primary school. So they're stuck with government in some sort of way. So we want to maybe push more data to that region. And in that space, maybe transparency might not be the buzzword. The buzzword here is service delivery. You have a school is allocated to your community. You should be aware and take action to make sure that those schools are developed. So use SMS as well, things that we're trying to move. So in terms of strategy, we're also trying to not just be this startup organization within the whole semi-urban or fully urban area in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, but also getting into the grassroots and giving them effective data to take action from.
So I guess it's empowering people with information or the questions to ask people who are supposed to be accountable for leading them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, so and looking for a different level of technology to do that. SMS, print, social media, radio, TV. We have some radio programs on Nigeria Info. By our own estimate, we feel that we have reached over 1 million Nigerians. And so, but we know that the gap is still real wide in the context of the population of Nigeria and our market size.
So, how is your business sustainable? How is this model sustainable? How do you fund it? Because you've talked about TV, you've talked about a lot of resources that require funding. So how does this pay for itself? And how do we know that budget is going to be here the next 5 years and won't have run out of money?
So we're here in 5 years now. We have not. So right now, majority of our funding comes from grants, like 90% from grants, mainly Gates Foundation or Media Network. We also think really, because our 5-year strategy plan is sustainability is critical in terms of talent and in terms of even our finances. So we have a unit called BudgIT.co, which helps businesses simplify data. So we have also a client set of like 15 people who give their data to us, company reports, annual reports, and we help them recreate it in a very interesting and fancy way. And who knows, Diamond could be our client. Yes. So, so we help them simplify data. And we want to branch that out into a much more standalone organization, because I think calling it budget sometimes run them into troubles in some sort of way. So we want to branch it out, raise equity for it, and turn it into more of a data intelligence, data science organization. So that's the strategy for the next 2 years for the organization.
Well, you made a point of passing, but really, so like, for example, Diamond Bank is in retail business, and what we want is data. And like I said earlier, one of the challenges is getting data, and you will need data to make decisions, and that's why this conversation is very interesting. So, beyond government are you thinking of branching into data that private sector will want, and that will be part of your sustainability drive?
Yeah, so right now, we think about that, but I think that's why we're launching this project, the Data Noni. Do like a 3-month accelerator platform and see how it goes with first public data, see how the enthusiasm starts. Something that could disrupt the NBS, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics in some way. Then gradually starts. We have some sites or some platforms that we can acquire. Then we gradually now start bringing private sector data into it. And at that point, it could be gated, and it could be, you might have to pay a fee for that, in sort of way. So that's one of the key things we're looking at. Because we know that somehow we have to be sustainable. It's proven that the way the aid market works, attentions always shift. So it could be HIV AIDS yesterday, it could be transparency tomorrow, and it could be maternal mortality the next day. So we need to understand that the times could shift against us. And that's why for the next 5 years, sustainability is very, very critical.
Okay, my last question before we finish. So 2019 elections. So what role is BudgIT going to play, and how is it going to help us Nigerians make the right decisions, or give arm us with information to make the right decision?
Yeah, so 2 things we're thinking. So we have a space now we call the Civic Hive. So we'll be launching in the next 2 weeks. It's supposed to be a space for innovation on civic technology. And elections are a really critical part of our work. Number one, data. We want people to be able to use data effectively, like historical patterns of voting in different places in Nigeria in a very stronger way. And secondly, it has to do about resources. So if you're voting for a governor, a president, what are the size of resources that you're almost entrusting into your hands and powers? So giving that kind of information. And thirdly, it has to do about being fact-checking. During elections, a lot of people say a whole lot of things. They promise a whole lot of stuff. And so being able to show people the exact value of all of that. So we're looking at that three focal areas. So, because we know that when during elections, emotion is always very, very, very strong push. But when the election is done, people get to face the facts gradually. So we want to make sure we stick to fact-checking, do a whole lot of work on historical data to do elections, something that you see what you do in the US and the UK. Which
exactly, I was going to say, and that's what makes the election season in all those climates very interesting, because they're comparing what the candidates say and what they're achieving, and they're bringing out data from different cupboards and wardrobes, and it makes it more engaging. Here in Nigeria, we have little to go on. So I think,
it's something that we want. So if someone says, oh, we're going to give 25 million people 5,000 naira each, you should be able to quickly tell them that's 1.25 trillion naira in a year, and how much is the size of your budget. So it's good to be able to draw back politicians back, and possibly partner with media organizations to put effect.
So thank you very much, and it was very interesting, and of course we'll keep talking as we get to the next election.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Bye.